Hello. Oh, blank. Hello.
Oh, sorry, Tim. I didn't know I was muted.
Hi, Benjamin.
How you doing?
I had better moments in life, but well, we all have.
Right.
But each day, one gets up and tries again.
Amen to that.
That's for
Have you
sure.
ever been? Have you ever been part of the step up class?
No, not no, not this class. I want. How to say this, Benjamin? Um, Above the right knee, amputee. I should be walking already, and I'm not because I'm beyond afraid of falling. Beyond.
That's it's hard to overcome. I'm
Yeah,
a
well, I already should have, but I haven't.
I I moved down to Indiana, but I used to live up with. I used to be where this is being filmed, and they're great people. I mean, back in 2014, I was ran over by a semi while riding a bicycle, and they got me up on a bicycle again. They're just it's an amazing group to be part of. It hurts for me not to be there in person anymore, but I had to move on with my life.
No, no, for sure. Unfortunately, because we all, you definitely lucked out. But when you
Right,
first lose a limb, it's not like you know what questions to ask, um,
right.
or what equipment to look for. So I was blessed with a great surgeon here, um, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, after five failed ones in air quotes, the best hospitals in New York City. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm alive, and that's all good. Um, but then when I graduated for everything, and I went to outpatient PT. Um, at the end of that, and that was last year, at the end of
Right,
the air quotes sessions, the person goes, well, we really don't know too much about amputees. Well, thank you very much.
we and Scott was saying this. He's one of the guys in this teaching this class. We only make up less than 1% of the United States. We're therapists. They just don't know what to do with us because we are so little. But I was lucky to work with Scott, and Scott's an amputee himself. And before I met Scott, I worked with somebody in northern Indiana. I live in southern Indiana now, and he was an amputee. So I just to work with people who are amputees just helped me get motivated to be moved back up and moving. And it's this Bremer prosthetics team is the reason I'm here today. I like I said, I told you it hurts me not to be down up there in person with them anymore. But I will do this every time they're on here just to communicate with them. They got me back to. I mean, I walked it, but I walked a 5K before I moved back down here to Indiana, and just if you're willing to show them that you have the effort to do it, they will help you with anything and everything you need. Scott, he's a lower below knee amputee in his business partner, Nate, had both his limbs, but very, very, very caring. And I mean, that's why they do these step up clinics. They're amazing. And then,
and for and we, I had a great PT after my last hospitalization, in-home PT.
right,
And everyone was surprised that I could do everything here. I could do everything. And I live alone. My daughter kidnapped me from New York after 5 failed operations, thankfully. And the 6th was in Pennsylvania trying to repair the bullshit from, the stuff from New York.
right.
And the 7th was a charm and went above the knee, and that was that. But so I had inpatient, and they were great. I had in home, they were great. So I made the assumption that the outpatient would be great, and that was just a poor assumption.
I was my first outpatient therapist as amputee, and she was asking me what to do. It's like, I've had my leg for 2 weeks. I'm really not that sure.
Yeah, so, I was still, I couldn't say the word amputation for several months after it. So, I was not the most clearant person in the world. And I'm sure there's other people similar, but I just, so I had like a deer in headlights. That was me.
Right. I was ready for mine. I had 15 failed surgeries to save my leg over a 2-year span. And then finally got to the point they wanted to put like pins and rods in my leg. And I said, and I even told my doctor, wouldn't amputation be better? And he's like, probably, but we don't like saying those words. It's like, well, I'm the one that's going to say it. Let's go in and get rid of it.
Yeah, you're a better man than I mean, looking back, hindsight is always best.
Right.
But looking back, that's what I should have done. Thankfully, my daughter, who lectures me now all the time now, kidnapped me from a New York hospital after the 5th failed operation, and brought me here to Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And Doylestown Hospital definitely saved my life. Unfortunately, their PT, outpatient PT, to clarify, has much to be desired. But it is what it is.
Hey, everybody. Just wanted to say welcome to our session here for Step Up. We're excited about things. So we have some people here that are joining us online. I see a few faces that were here last time too. We really appreciate you guys coming back. We think this is a fantastic thing. We're going to do things a little differently than last time, just because we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to kind of see what the exercises that we like to do are, that we give everybody a chance to get a little bit of movement in. So we're going to lead with that today. And then, so I'd like to just kind of ask online, if everybody who has a prosthesis that they're wearing right now, that's online, can you just raise your hand? So we have two.
Well, I have a half of a hand. I have a prosthesis. It's not on.
It's not on. Is there, okay, which that's fine. So so what we want to do is we're going to go through some of these exercises. We'd like you to try to participate if you have your prosthesis, but don't do anything that doesn't make you feel safe, right? So we want to make sure that for a lot of these exercises, you have something that, if there's a chair that you have, something that you can hold on to. There's going to be some exercises that have a balance component, but we don't want you focusing on balance. We want to focus on good, solid muscle control, so that we can make sure that we're really focusing on the quality of the exercise and not trying to hold ourselves up.
And then kind of identifying the muscles that you're feeling so that you know how, and then we'll try to explain how those muscles work during ambulation and during gait as well. So,
right. So we're gonna lead with the exercises. Then the second half of the class, there'll be still plenty of time to kind of talk, go through questions and answers and all the stuff like we did last time. We just want to make sure that we do have time for the exercises. So if everybody who's comfortable could stand up, find your feet, get yourself into a position where you can be supported.
So the purpose of today's exercise is getting back to the basics. So this is some of the stuff that we had a couple people last week who said that they thought that they would have their prosthesis by this appointment today. I think one of them is actually at their appointment. They're going to be joining us later. So when you first get your leg, these are exercises that that would be very helpful for, learning how to ambulate, getting your balance and, getting the feel for that prosthetic limb.
Right. But the other thing is even if you've used your prosthesis for a number of years, kind of retraining some of these things that seem simple can help you just to reestablish the right kind of control. I mean, Scott, we've told the story a lot of times about going down to a physical therapy clinic where we learned a lot of these techniques. And I mean, we went out to dinner the night before, walked a mile. I could barely keep up with Scott. He walked so fast. The next day,
Long legs.
right. The next day, he was doing tiny little movements and just sweating and fatigued in the whole 9 yards. But he realized after, 15 or 20 years of using a prosthesis that, wait a minute, I've started compensating. I'm not doing things the way that I used to. So we always like to go back to the basics.
Yep.
Even for people that have done this for a long time. So we're going to start with weight shifting. So we want to find a position maybe just outside with our heels kind of just outside the shoulders, just a comfortable stance position. If we want to have a chair there to hold on to, that's great. If we're comfortable in our stance, that's good too. And
So-
go ahead.
Well, I'd say you start off by, if my left is my prosthetic side, so maybe lean to the right, lift up the prosthesis first.
Right. And we don't even have to go all the way to picking the prosthesis up off the ground. If we're not comfortable in single limb support here, we can go, I always call it 98%, 2%. So we can put most of our weight through one leg, and then we're going to shift back to the other side and do the same thing. If we're comfortable picking our foot up, great. If not, keep that toe down for balance. And we're going to keep shifting back and forth. What we really want to focus on as we're shifting is our shoulders here. We don't want to shift like this. This isn't the shift that we're trying to do here. See how far my shoulders are shifting when I do this? What we want to do is we want to shift this way without kicking our hip out as we shift over, so our shoulders don't have to move through as much of a range of motion. If we're comfortable, we can even add a little bit of a knee raise.
So one of the things I kind of like to explain when we're doing these in the office, if you would watch, like say while I'm ambulating and you try to keep track of like how long I'm on the prosthetic side, that'd be like 1/1000. Like you're on it for really less than a second when you're walking. So a lot of times when people are doing the weight shifts, and you haven't walked on a prosthesis and you're getting up on it for the first time, and they're kind of intimidated to pick up that foot when you ask them to, but yet they're shifting their weight over to that prosthetic side for 2 seconds or a little bit longer. It's like, hey, you're doing that plenty for what you need to be doing for walking on the prosthetic limb.
The other thing we're trying to really show is that we have the ability to hold ourselves up when our body is over just one side, especially if it's the prosthetic side. We don't want to get into a habit where we're just kind of keeping the prosthesis out to the side and using it to hop across. So even though we're not walking, we're still using this to kind of get our bodies used to the fact that, yep, okay, my muscles can engage. I'm able to hold myself up for this second and then come back to the other side.
And where this can be tricky, if you've been, say you're just getting your prosthetic limb and you haven't, you had your leg amputated and it was like 2.5, 3 months ago, which is pretty normal for most people when they're first getting fit with the prosthetic limb. So when you're walking with a walker, okay, you have all this weight shifted to the center. And this is, when you're using that walker, that assistive device to get around, you see how, and now you got to get used to, like Nate had mentioned, having the foot out, kind of shifting your weight over by shifting your hips and moving your weight over that prosthetic limb and not so much, like, keeping it out here, because a lot of times the physical therapist will say, oh, get your weight over to the prosthetic side. And it feels like you are, and there's a little frustration. And if we get people in the mirror, we'll say, oh, look at this.
Right.
And it feels, and I'll tell them, I said, does it feel really exaggerated? And it says, yes, but then you can show them that's straight.
Right.
But you think of how your body has changed position by just balancing on that one leg for.
So what I want everybody to do now is, we started wide just to kind of warm up a little bit, but I want everybody to make sure you have something to hold on to if you need it. And we're going to go a lot more narrow. We don't want to be quite to the point where our feet are touching each other, but we talk about like maybe 2 to 4 inches apart. So a nice narrow band of support there. And we're going to do the same thing, shifting. We can do the option like I'm doing right here where I don't pick my feet up. We can do the option like Scott is where he's picking his feet up. But we want to focus on that, keeping that narrow base as we are kind of coming back with 2 feet on the ground.
And you can see if you're trying to balance on that prosthetic side, I might have a hard time staying there for like 3. It really just depends on how 3 seconds, 4 seconds. But if I just have a couple fingers, I don't know if you guys can see this or if we can get the cameras on this, just this little bit does a lot for helping to maintain your balance for doing the exercise. So it's not like you need something really heavy to put your weight into, but just something to kind of to steady a little bit. But if you're struggling to do it, I recommend doing this because then you can really focus on those muscles firing in the prosthetic socket to try to balance yourself and really try to use your quadriceps, but also your hips. You want to really shift over with your hips so you can drive that prosthesis into the ground, and that's going to help with your balance quite a bit. So you say we don't have ankles, and you'll learn to feel the ground forces and use your hips to compensate.
So now we're going to do some, with our feet still narrow, we're going to all kind of shift together, and we're going to do 10 fast, and then we're going to do 10 slow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Everybody that tried that, I mean, the slow ones are obviously much harder than the fast ones, right? Does everybody agree with that? Why do we think that the slow ones are harder than the fast ones? Balance. Yep. I mean, so we just have to spend so much more time with one leg on the ground, right? With the other one on. So those muscles, we can't just keep shifting and get off it. We have to get on there and hold. That hold can be the real tricky part. But that hold can be the difference between during a stumble, staying up or turning that stumble into a fall. So we really wanted to focus on that hold for a second. Hold for a second. And that's the idea when you're kind of doing these exercises, but do them fast also. Like warm your body up, go through a little bit of both. So that's the weight shifting. The next exercise we're going to do is called heel strikes. So we'll have Scott demonstrate that. I don't know if Chris, if you want to come up onto the stage and demonstrate it with an above the knee prosthesis, and I can kind of come down to the side
Chris
here.
Is above the knee and I'm below the knee. So we kind of demonstrate each way. So the idea is we want you to get your sound limb down and get the toe of the prosthetic foot slightly behind your heel there. And then by pushing on the front wall of that socket, you're going to initiate knee flexion, but we don't want that heel to just drop to the ground. Okay. Like this, we want you to push back on the socket and drive that heel right down into the ground. You see that, how there's like a snap at the end of that movement there. So you got to push back on that socket to get that snap. And you should feel these muscles in the back working.
I mean, the way I like to usually say it to people is think that your heel is a hammer and the floor is a nail. You don't just kind of take a hammer and drop it on a nail, do you? You make it. We want to hear a sound when that heel hits. This is an exercise. This isn't walking. So we want to hear that loud thud as that hits.
The idea is oftentimes when we see people walk with a prosthetic limb, and Nate had mentioned earlier about having that foot out, they're just kind of swinging forward with these front muscles and they let that leg fall. And it's all the way out, and then they're just doing this. And they're not using their muscles to control that prosthetic limb. And that's like using the prosthesis like a crutch. What we're trying to train you how to do is identify the muscle groups that you used when you walked before and how to utilize them properly. So you don't want to just let that fall to the ground. You want to use these muscles here to drive that heel into the ground.
And what you really want to kind of stop and think about is as that hits the ground, are these muscles behind your leg, are they nice and tight? You want those muscles to be tight and engaged as that heel is touching the ground. And honestly, what this exercise is for is, again, so that you're really thinking about those muscles. You're not getting your foot on the ground and then trying to tighten up. You want those muscles engaged before the heel hits the ground. That way, they're already at that taut level, so that when if the ground's unlevel or something is unexpected, your muscles are already tight and they're ready to act. You're not taking that split second of, okay, my foot's on the ground, now I'm trying to react. You're ready to react as your heel touches. So you really want to focus on, as you do this, loud and feel a squeeze behind your knee.
Yeah,
or for the above the knee, kind of just like back in your thigh.
Yeah, if you're not feeling it back here,
right, then
you're not. Those muscles aren't working. And if you feel like your calf muscles tightening while you're doing that too, that's perfectly fine.
I mean, we've had a lot of people over time tell us that maybe in a below the knee prosthesis that doing this causes their muscles to cramp up. And that's something that it should, when you're walking, you're not going to be this exaggerated. So it's an exercise. Sometimes we might cramp up a little bit during an exercise. It's not necessarily indicative of a problem.
So we're going to do 10 heel strikes.
Yep.
And then we'll take a little break and maybe do another set of 10.
Yep.
But I just want to kind of we'll examine everybody in here, and then hopefully people online can join us and do them too. So ready? So with your heel, with the toes back, we always say set. And then when we say strike, we snap the heel to the ground. So set, strike, set, strike, set, strike, set, strike. Is that 5?
Yep.
Strike, set, strike, set, 8, set, 9, set, 10. Okay. Everybody feel that back here? Okay. And notice, I don't know how it resonated through the camp, but you could hear the heels hitting the ground. And that's exactly what we want. So, all right, we'll do another quick set and then we'll move on. Everybody ready? So when you're doing these exercises, like the other ones, it was more like time, but doing sets, just so if we're doing sets of 10 here, and that feels good, you might find 3 sets of 10 feel really good. You can kind of increase or add an extra set or go 14 if they're feeling a little easier for you. So the idea is just adapt it to where it feels like you're getting the benefit of the exercise. Ready, set, 1, set, 2, set, 3, set, 4, set, 5, set, 6, set, 7, set, 8, set, 9, set, 10. Okay, good. Those sounded like good ones.
Yep.
So
can everybody kind of feel a little bit of a burn from that? I mean, do you feel the muscles engaged? Maybe not burn, maybe not to the level of a burn, but do you feel that you were using some muscles there? Good. So the next one is going to be pull throughs. So you guys can demonstrate again.
Again, what we're doing here is we're trying to emulate what happens with the muscle groups that you're using. So we talked about, we want you to use those muscles so that when you're striking, we want you to initiate that knee flexion and then extension. A big part of this too is you'll hear a lot when you're walking, if you're getting inconsistent steps, meaning sometimes the foot can be placed in, out, one step's too far, one is too short. If you're just throwing that leg out there, and you're not using these muscles to push back on that socket wall to initiate that knee flexion, you're going to get inconsistent steps all the time. So what you're doing here is you're creating a consistent gait pattern. Okay. So the next step of this is you're going to initiate that knee extension and heel strike. And what we want you to do, so we talked about if you have this out here and you're using it like a crutch and you're just throwing your body here. No, the next step is when you actually walk, you're using these muscles to pull yourself through. So you continue to pull, firing the same, this one, particularly if you're below the knee, you should feel the calf muscles too, but all these muscles here isolated. And you know, when we see people ambulate and they're doing a lot of this, right? And what that does is that isolates all these core muscles here, and that gets our pelvis nice and tight and everything engaged. So that's a big part of walking, you know, without a limp. So for this next exercise, where before we started with the toes behind us, we're going to have the heel already down on the ground, okay? And you're simply going to fire those muscles, and you do not push off with this back leg at all. So when I do it, it's going to look like I'm going slow because I'm not pushing off here. I'm just using those muscles here to propel all my weight forward. Now, this is an exaggeration of how you're going to use these muscles when you walk. You're not going to, you know, go like this, like you're marching all over the place. But then when you go to walk, you should feel a difference because you have that stability of your trunk and everything engaged and all those muscles working together when you're walking. So you want to add anything to that? Or
No, I think that's pretty thorough.
so
Does anybody have any questions about that online or here? Does anybody have any questions about the exercises so far? Okay, we'll keep going.
okay. So again, when we go,
This is a good one to hold on to something.
yep,
This is a good one to have some support. Because again, we want you to focus on that muscle contraction and not be worried about fighting your balance as you're balanced on only the prosthesis.
so for Chris here, like, you know, I've got my own knee, but he's working that prosthetic knee, and he's got, you know, depending if your limb is shorter, obviously you don't have as much muscles here. So he's got a lot less to do those pull throughs. But so it's a great exercise for strengthening those hip flexors. So with the heel forward, we're just going to say pull. And then when we say the number, get your sound leg behind you again. So we'll go pull. 1, set, pull. 2, set, pull. 3, pull. 4, set, pull. 5, pull. 6, pull. 7, set, pull. And remember, do not push off with your good leg. That was 8, right?
Yep.
Pull. 9, set, pull. 10. Everybody feel those? Chris, you feel those a lot more now back here than you did with the heel strikes. But again, we start out with the heel strikes because you should start to feel that muscle, strengthen the muscle. If you're struggling with these, which honestly, if you've just gotten your leg, you should be, use the assistive device. It's going to go a long way. We really talk about doing that because we're looking for proper isolation of the muscles, proper strength and balance, because we're trying to avoid gait deviations and bad habits that develop later on down the line. So just think of this isn't like, oh, I'm not tough enough to do it without it. This is just like any other workout machine in the gym. This is just an extension of what you need to get to work those muscles properly. Okay.
Right. So now that we've completed those exercises, what I like to do is right after we finish those exercises, have everybody just walk, even if it just we'll do a quick lap around here while you're kind of thinking about those exercises and those muscle, like that muscle memory is fresh in your mind. So let's just do a quick lap around.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily completely doing the exercises, but we're thinking about incorporating these heel strikes and pull throughs into the gait.
But back, you know, when we were doing the clinics and we had new people at every one of them, you know, there was always an eye-opening moment for somebody because they were like, oh, I'm able to pull through and I don't have this going on anymore. And you feel that trunk engaged and you've got a nice straight gait pattern. So. You walk a lot better after the exercises. Good job.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
No, it does, because
I say these guys are talking over here, and they're both people that have used a prosthesis combined. They're over. I won't speak to their age, but they've used a prosthesis more than 50 years combined. And they're both saying that just doing those exercises, they can feel a difference. You know,
I said something earlier, and this is getting back to the basics, and there are some where we'll go through the whole thing but that's like a 3-course seminar.
Right.
We're trying to do an abbreviated, but we talked about early identifying the muscle groups, and that's so important.
Right.
Because that's where experienced users are still saying, once you feel those muscles, you can fire them then whenever you need to. I mean,
Right.
I always used to, should I tell the VA story?
Sure.
I mean, I worked with my therapist for quite a few months, and he was always telling me, shift over to this side, fire these muscles. And I was like, I am, and he's always on me. And I remember telling him, like, I don't have a foot. The stuff that you're asking me to do, I can't do. And I'd started working in prosthetics, and I was working for another company. And, when you're going to the hospitals, it's long hallways and everything else. And, I graduated, I wasn't using an assistive device at the time, but anyway, I'll never forget, I was at the VA in Saginaw, and I was walking down the halls. It was like the very first time I found myself, and I felt my calf muscle. I didn't really understand the other muscles that were working, but a lot of this stuff is us breaking it down. But I felt my calf muscle firing in the back of the socket. And then what was really happening was I was like, oh, all the rest of these muscles are engaged. And all of a sudden I wasn't doing this anymore. So when we talk about identifying the muscles, that means you can turn them on and off whenever you want. And the joke always was, people would say, well, why would you want to turn it off? When we tell the story, it's like, well, because if you haven't used, for me, it was like 11 months. If you haven't used those muscles in a year, it was literally, killing my butt. So, but, being able to say, okay, I'm there, and then get back to it. And that's, the other thing with me is I had quit PT 7 months post-op, and I went back 11 months post-op. So when we talk about not developing those bad habits, people always say, oh, I'd like to walk like how you walk, or like how Chris walks. But the funny thing is, it's like, I really thought at the time I was too smart for PT because I had to get back to work and do all this other stuff. And the funny thing is, I always thought I looked stupid with a cane. But I remember my therapist saying, well, do you think this looks cool? And I was like, okay. But, luckily I went back in time that I was able to correct my habits, but it was a lot more difficult the second time around than it was the first time around.
Right.
So.
And that's why I forced myself to use a cane, even though I was young,
Right.
Mhm.
strong.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what it was for me, is I had to get back to doing that.
So what Chris was just saying, because I don't think he's mic'd up for the people online, is he's saying that even though he was in his early 20s when this happened to him, he forced himself to walk with a cane for what felt like probably way longer than what you thought you needed it, for over a year, just so that he could make sure that his body was adapting the right way and that he was learning all the good habits instead of picking up bad habits that could just get from point A to point B.
Because once you start doing this, these core muscles and these flexors aren't engaging. So,
so I know that we had somebody online that brought up, and I think it was Tim again. Welcome back again, Tim, who reiterated that he has about his fear of falling. And we certainly, so what I want to talk about is that while we talk about a lot of these exercises being things that are going to help you walk without a limp or walk, more symmetrically, to use the, medical term for it, these are also for safety. So a lot of these exercises are going to teach you how to have your muscles engaged at the right time and in the right ways. You can be in control so that you can redevelop that confidence.
Well, knowing how to use that prosthetic knee and having the muscles to do it.
Right.
Like one of the most common places where an above the knee amputee will fall, it's when you're in a tight space and you're taking short steps. Imagine like if you go here and you just kind of pick that leg up a little bit and you don't have all your weight here and it starts drifting, look at the knee's already in flexion if you start transferring your weight. But if you're simply, because you're doing the heel strikes or some of the other stuff and the muscles and you know how to control that knee and you're kind of planting that down and you're pushing on the back of that socket, you can hold that knee in extension. And when it's in extension, you're not going to fall. Getting strong muscles. And Chris, do we have the microphone here? You weigh in on this, if you want after I'm done talking, but or if you start to stumble and that knee's drifting into flexion a little bit, and you can push back on that socket wall to force that knee into extension. I mean, that's something you're able to do. And if you don't have the strength or you don't practice that so you understand how the knee functions, you lose control of that knee and you can save yourself from a lot of falls. So Chris, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Actually taking very small steps, doing it as an exercise is very important.
Yeah, especially for the transfemorals.
Right.
Yeah, there's an exercise we do called baby steps. So I guess if maybe we'll have Krista, but this is a great exercise where we were just doing the heel strikes and pull throughs. I don't know, Chris, if you want to.
So this is like mini heel strikes and pull throughs, and it doesn't look like much, but that's very hard to do. Everybody here has done it before at some point. This is
intense.
That's intense. That's a lot.
Does not resonate that this is an intense exercise, isn't it?
Especially getting a knee to unlock.
Right.
Yes, because you're getting that knee to unlock, going to flight, and that's a small bursting. There's so many muscle movements happening in that small period of time.
And a lot of time what we're looking at is, you might go through manual muscle testing. A physical therapist comes in and tests everything out and says, oh, you're really strong. You're strong in all these directions. And we're not questioning strength. It's the speed of those contractions. It's how fast can you make those things happen so that you're adjusting and modifying so that you can stay upright instead of losing control of the prosthesis and having it cause a fall.
The more recent clinics that we've been to in therapy, that's the big thing now they're talking about. It's not the strength of the muscle, it's the speed of the contracture that we actually rely on for balance, because we can contract those muscles in the socket and use them to help ourselves balance.
Does that address your question, Tim? I hope that it does.
No, I think a lot of it is in my head. My last amputation was April 23rd, 2001. I fell 21 times in 24 months thereafter. 20 falls I could understand, just as long as I knew what idiotic thing I did. The 21st thing, I also figured out what an idiotic thing I did, but it just rattled my blank mind. I was in my kitchen with my prosthetic on. I went to grab something up high, which offsets your balance, etc., and I crashed. But that rattled my brain.
So what we really want to focus on now, Tim, is retraining those muscles, and confidence comes later, right? I mean, confidence we don't get the ability and automatically inherently have the confidence at the same time. So what we want to do is we want to get you back to a point where you can see the fact that you have the control, and then you can keep practicing and slowly, and confidence, once confidence is rattled, it's one of those things that it takes a while to get back. But what we have to do is we have to show your body has to see that success and that repeated success. So it's not a hopeless situation. It's not a hopeless situation, but it's something that it does take extra work.
It takes work and time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both of those things.
Yeah. You're unfortunately the bad.
And I'm beyond trying. Sometimes we all have had bad days or periods, but go to the gym, try to work out, build up my muscle strength. I have an outpatient PT with, I call it Peter Pan strap. So there's no way I could fall, but I'm still beyond afraid.
So what we want you to do, and those are all great. Please keep doing those things. Those are all things that are going to help over time. I guess what we're trying to say is that we think that some of these basics, some of the things that we're doing right now in terms of just the simple weight shifting, planting that heel, doing the pull throughs, those are going to have marked benefits. Those are things you can do in home, not in physical therapy. And so that if you do those 2 or 3 times a day and then go to therapy and do those exercises and try to apply those same things, that's going to be more of a pathway to kind of reiterating that success pathway in your brain instead of the, the fear or, the trepidation pathway. And so it's about repetition. So keep doing all the things you're doing. But I mean, I guess we would both probably say, from talking to you last month, talking to you today, to get over this, you're going to have to put in a little bit more.
Well,
And that's okay. And you're here. So I know you want to do that. So that's great.
No, and I also, in home, I do my own little exercises from different PTs, recommendations. But again, I think it's more in my head than anywhere else, but that's my opinion.
And just to build off Nate's point and your point, doing the exercises, the thing is with physical therapy is if you're getting the max amount of visits you can get as an outpatient, it's 3 a week. So that's only 3 hours. Where you think of like before we had that amputation, how many hours did you spend on your feet a day? 7 days a week. So it's, it's just to really, therapy's great. We're not saying, no, but we just don't get enough of it. Unfortunately, insurances do not pay for the kind, and I think we say that over and over and over again, and we'll continue to say it. So the more you're doing at home, the more you're just empowering yourself to kind of speed up those circumstances, because it is a long road. So.
We're definitely trying.
So, but like I said, I wanted to reiterate that we really strongly encourage those 3 that we just did. If you could incorporate those, I'd love to hear back from you next month if you try to incorporate those into your daily routine and see. And see, do you find that helpful? Is it not helpful? Give us some feedback on that. We'd love it. But we're gonna move back along to keep going on the exercises. The next thing that we have are going to be our 4-way hip extensions. So 4 ways. We have out to the side. Now again, when we do these exercises, I want everybody to watch. Do my shoulders move when I do this exercise? No. Just in case you can't, nobody's answering. So no, my shoulders don't move. I don't care if the range of motion is this. If you can only get it this high, and that's what it takes, and you're feeling that burn in this muscle here on the side, that's enough for right now. We'll keep going until you can get more range of motion without your shoulders. I like to tell people to do these at a kitchen. I love people that have cabinets that hang down over their countertops. I tell them to do it right on the edge, especially the ones where we go to the back, because when you lean forward, wham, you hit yourself on the head. You don't quit, you quit doing it. But so we're going to go to the side. We're going to go to the front with lifts. We're going to go to the back. The back is the one that really, really we want to isolate. We don't want to lean forward. This isn't a stretch of our other leg. It's just this isolation of our kind of our hamstring and our glute. And again, in the back, very small amount of movement.
So this is good, particularly for transfemorals, but even, or transfemorals above the knee, below the knees. If anyone has a hip flexion contracture, but again, if you're starting to get into that, you might find that this range of motion here is limited. That's why Nate's saying what happens when we have contractures, we try to compensate for a goal. We really want to just try to do this and help stretch it. I mean, it's great for, So again, even if you don't have a prosthetic limb, they're probably, if you're in physical therapy, they're probably doing things like that, working on stretching. So,
and then the last one is a cross here. These ones, I don't know if we'll do it today. We'll keep an eye on our clock. I really try to reiterate that we want to do these on both sides. Even if we don't wear a prosthesis on both sides, we want to do this on both sides because we want our hips to be and our pelvis to be well balanced. We don't want to work one side out all the time and have the other side, kind of start falling behind in terms of range of motion and some of those things.
And if you've been on limited weight bearing status, I mean, those muscles are suffering too.
Those muscles are suffering. And plus it's weight bearing time on your prosthesis, right? So again,
that's a nice
hold on to something. I mean, this one, especially with the amount of time that you're doing, you might find that you're using the assistive device a little bit more than some of the balance exercises we did before. That's okay. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem.
You'll probably feel those muscles really working to do that. And the nice thing about, so when you're doing this for balance, because that's something we talk about a lot, doing exercises on both sides, because the balancing the prosthetic side is getting, but there's a lot of weight shifting going on here. So you're not just standing there isolated. When you're bringing this foot up, like these are real things that happen while you're balancing on a prosthetic limb. So while your weight's shifting, your points of balance shift inside of the prosthetic socket, and those muscles are working to maintain that balance. And that's where that speed of the flexion
Right.
are the
contractors,
muscles, contracting in the socket come into place.
So let's go ahead and start. I mean, we'll go through both sides. I think there's time. So we're just going to start going to the outside, and we're going to do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, when these get easy, we can always put a tension band around our ankles. If we don't have access to that, we can do a hole at the top. 1, 1, 2, 2. There's just lots and lots of different ways to adapt this to keep making it challenging for ourselves.
And if anyone here is in physical therapy, I'm sure your therapist would be glad to give you a band.
Absolutely.
Because they're good like that.
Right. So the next one we're going to do is
I went out and bought my own bands.
straight if we can. If we have to bend our knee to do it, we'll accept that. But we'd really like to go through that range that you can really keep your knee straight. So that was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to go to the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then finally to the back. 1, 2, 3. This one we really should feel a squeeze as we get to the top. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we'll switch to do the other leg. We're going to start by going to the outside again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to focus on nice, slow and even. And then we're not kicking, we're swinging. And so the same thing to the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We really want to work the muscle through the full range of motion. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And finally to the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. If anybody starts to feel this in your lower back, you're going too far. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Ready to take a little break, shake that out. Those get a little bit, get a little lactic acid going with those, especially when we add tension bands, but did you have, okay, you're good. Okay, I might make sure you didn't have a question. Okay.
10 minutes, 12.
Wait, we got chair squats, and I think that'd be.
Oh, we did have it. Okay.
So we've got one more exercise we're going to do. Then we'll take a short break, and we'll reconvene and do kind of more of our question and answer session of things. So the last exercise we're going to do is chair squats. We think that even though squats are really hard on our knees, they're still a really important function of our bodies, and the ability to go down into that position is really, really important. So Scott can kind of demonstrate on a squat what.
We'll show the adaptive.
Yep, exactly.
This works really well if you're below the knee amputee. So the one thing that we encounter when we're trying to do squats is how the weight, and we're bearing all the weight on our residual limb inside of the sockets, because now it's not dispersed evenly. So for example, when I come down to do a squat like this, I've got all the pressure on the front of my shin in the socket.
See,
look at how
his ankle doesn't bend, so his heel comes up off the ground.
So this is very awkward, very uncomfortable. It causes discomfort inside my prosthetic socket.
Instability too, right?
Instability. So one of the things that I've shown, and I've learned this from other people over the years, if we just stand with our feet wider and turn our toes out, you see this? Kind of like a plie. Now I can go down into a squat and look at my residual limb is straight up and down inside of the socket, and that foot is flat on the floor.
Right. So he's able to drive back up through the prosthesis instead of kind of just being on the toe and having that moment of instability. But a lot of us say, okay, I'm not ever going to want to do a squat, right? Like, come on, let's be serious about this. So who here sits down in a chair? Does everybody like to sit down in a chair? Who here likes to get up from that chair? Okay, then we all like to do squats. So what we're going to show is the adaptation of what we call a chair squat. These are things that, bodybuilders do chair squats. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a cheat. It's not anything. What we're not here to do is to flop into the chair and flop back up. We want to be controlled, engaged. If we have to take a moment at the bottom to rest and reset before we stand up, that's fine. But what we would really prefer is through the course of this exercise to go down until you feel the chair and then come back up without ever really stopping and supporting your weight on the chair. Now, if you have, like I said, if you're at a point where that little pause lets you regroup and get back up, fine. No, that's not a problem. Don't think. But our goal here, over time, is to be able to get to the chair, feel it, and then back up without just flopping down on the chair. So let's go ahead and, again, if we need to keep a chair in front of us to help, I really, really like at home, I like kitchen sinks, because kitchen sinks are usually pretty firmly anchored to things. So we can have our hands on that kitchen sink so that when we're going down, we've got something. Now we don't want to use everything in our upper body to pull ourselves up,
but you can leverage it.
Assist. So holding on to something in front of us can really help us with, one, the balance that we need, and two, just that initial impulse to start things back up.
So for transfemoral amputees, obviously it's going to be harder to get that low. And I certainly don't want to say that it can't be done, because I know people who have it, they're very strong and they've walked on them but that's why we work towards it. So I just want, if you're going and you've got the sink or whatever, and you come down yay far, there's still a benefit to this. Right. And those muscles are strengthening, and then you'll increase that range of motion as that strength increases. Right. And
there's nothing to say you can't put cushions on the chair, build the chair
That's a good idea.
To a higher level so that you can still get that idea of, okay, I've felt that there's contact here and now we can come back up. And so there's lots of ways to adapt that so that you can feel comfortable and get through that full range of motion. Scott's right. What some prosthetic knees, like especially the mechanical knees, would really require you to use all of one leg, right? So you're doing single leg squats down to the chair and back up. It's really hard to do. We don't expect everybody to do that. A lot of the microprocessor knees are going to help on the way down,
but on the way up,
you have to really, really consciously fire into the back of that socket to get any extension moment on the knee, and you're still going to be looking at like 10 to 20% of assist and doing 80%.
Or if you've got a weight activated locking knee, it's just not going
to work.
And if you have questions about the exercises, and I know we have a Facebook page, I don't know, Brian, if you're hearing like but I know people reach out and ask questions. So it will be relative to the knee. And if you have questions like, hey, this is, and you know what kind of knee you have, feel free to put a thing down there and we'll try to blast you an answer in a reasonable amount of time. Give us a day or so to respond, because if we're at work, we'll usually get the stuff at night, and then Brian will put it out. But We're happy to try to assist in that
Right.
way, or ask your prosthetist. They know how your knee functions.
Yep. So again, so we're going to do these chair squats. If anybody that's in the room here wants it a little higher, we can stack some chairs so that it's up a little higher. If so that we don't have to get to that point. Listen to your knees on this exercise. If we're feeling knee pain, then we definitely want to start building the chair up to us. We don't want to go so deep. That's why I said squats, even though we think they're super important, they can put a lot of strain if you do have a bad knee.
Mhm.
So we want to be mindful of that, right? We don't want to hurt ourselves to where we can't do the rest of the exercises. So we're going to do 10 chair squats here. We're going to try to do them in a controlled manner. So we're going to go down to the chair and then up. And then down and up. And down. 3. Down. 4. Down. 5. Down. 6. Down. 7. Down. 8. 2 more. 9. And 1 more. Try to really make this one count. 10. Good. Good job. So remember on these ones, your adaptations. Don't worry about where you are today and where you're starting. Just it's better to go through the motions, have your body feeling this, and with repetition, there's going to be success over time. So with that being said, thanks for going through our exercises. We're going to take about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll kind of bring things back together so that we can go over questions and
We'll do that. We're going to talk to the people online and do the introductions and get everybody communicating like we did last time. So thanks for sitting through our and participating with our.
We'll reconvene in about 10 or 12 minutes.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, Scott. Hi, Bill, real quick. How are you? Hi, Debbie. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you.
Yes, thank God I got to make it. I just got my prosthetic leg today. I just got it like a half hour ago.
Congratulations. What's it look like?
Congrats.
Hold on. Let me see if I can zoom the camera in. Hold on. Let's see. Hey, hold on. I'm outside. I'm at Domino's Pizza. Let's see. All right, hold on. It's got my son on. Hold on. See?
On and off. Okay.
It's got
That's
like
great.
a pin lock. It's got a picture of my son and me on it.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've already made it up 6 steps already without no assistance.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
So yeah, it's like it feels good to be vertical on 2 legs instead of 1 leg.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Tracy, how are you doing at therapy with your new leg? You got your new leg at therapy, right?
I got my new one yesterday. I've been using mechanical one at PT, but I got the X3 yesterday, but I don't get to bring it home yet. I gotta master some skills on it first. But I was saying to Debbie, I don't think they want to keep it at PT too long because they don't want to be liable for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a very expensive leg. Yeah, like if something happens, goes missing, who's going to be like, yeah, who's responsible for it?
Exactly. So
Now, they'll maybe want you to bring it home back and forth. It's like you got to.
well,
carry
that's
it
another
with you.
problem. If I had to bring it back and forth because I got a wheelchair, walker, and a leg.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. It's like, yeah, that's a lot to carry around.
Yeah. But I found it an adjustment because with the X3, you don't have to work as hard at bending.
Okay, yeah, it's a lot less work. Yeah, compared to that, what you had the total knee or something that George
The
didn't
total
like.
Yeah. and I'm a control freak. So, like, it's really weird just to let it do its thing.
Okay, yeah, like it does it all free, you know, not as much work.
So that's my big learning yesterday, but I'm sure it'll get better.
Come on, man.
Yes.
Come on, baby.
So how many hours are you walking on yours, Steve? Like, I know
I'm only allowed 1 hour today. When I get home, I got to take it off. Yeah, they told me 1 hour to max, 1 hour a day.
that's probably a good idea. Better safe than sorry.
In the
Yeah, it's 1
beginning,
hour.
yeah.
And then it's like, what?
I said like in the beginning, yeah. I was
Yeah, it's
about-
like this.
I think I was 3 months out and I was on a vacation with my then wife, and I had to wear my leg for like almost a day and a half straight because we got a layover that sucked.
Oh, wow.
But now I can wear my leg 18 plus hours. I mean, like I worked 12-hour shifts before I got my new job here where I'm at now. And I was wearing my leg 12 hours at work.
Oh, wow.
Now
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, God
Now I
bless.
got me a desk job now. A lot better for an amputee than factory work like I was doing.
Yeah, the hardest part was for me right now. Sorry, I just got like an hour ago. Was getting in and out of a car, getting my leg in and out of the car.
That's why I've got an SUV. I won't get a sedan again. The sedans are just being so low are hard to get in and out of.
Yeah, I noticed that. And then
I
getting
have
out, trying to
something
get your
called a
leg
kick.
out.
It's like a Mini Cooper. Kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
Right. I got me an Encore, so it's like a crossover SUV, but
No, agreed.
right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm an above right knee
Right.
amputee, so you know, it's if you want to follow the law, which unfortunately I have this issue with, you have to go through all these hoops to be able to drive without a right leg.
My grandpa, who is a right leg amputee, used his left foot for the brake and his crutch. He used his cane for the gas pedal.
Oh yeah, no, I could drive just with my left foot, you know, without the crutch or anything else. But with my luck, I would get pulled over and get the book thrown at me.
They sell a pedal kit, right? You can just modify your pedals.
Oh yeah, no, that I have my left leg is also compromised. It's still with me, thank God. But so I decided after this nearly a year process, I figured if I'm gonna do this, might as well do it if, you know, God forbid I lose my other leg, I'm not gonna have to go through this DMV blank again. So I have hand controls, which does not make logical sense here in Pennsylvania.
No.
Forward is a brake, backwards is gas. Makes no sense to me. But that's how they word it.
Is it like a motorcycle, like rolling backward, rolling your arm? Because that's how you would apply a throttle. would
Yeah,
be
no,
rolling.
my second teacher with that related it to a boat, which I could identify with. And that helped because it's like boat controls. It's how a boat operates.
You pull the throttle back to go.
Right. But it still doesn't make logical sense, but at least I'm independent and I can drive.
Yeah, that's good.
But has anyone else been afraid of falling? You know,
I was in the beginning. And then I mean, it's hard. You just, cause like the more you fear it, the more you let it control you. And then I had to tell myself, if I fall, I get back up. Like last year, I finally got back on a bicycle and I lost my leg while riding a bicycle. And I was riding up a hill, I fell, got back up, pedaled again, I fell like 5 feet later. Then after the third time going up one hill, I was like, okay, I'm going to call it for quits for the day. But I still got back up on a bike the next day. It's just, we can't let it consume us. I mean, and it's hard not to, because like fear of fall, I mean, like that's how a lot of us got hurt to begin with. We fell or something happened, and to get over that fear. But then I was blessed by being, I mean, I was with these people here we see on the video in person for 7 years before I moved back down to my hometown in Indiana. And so I got a one-on-one contact with all these people here. And if you think we gained so much just watching on Zoom, you get so much more there in person. I wish we all could be there.
No, here too, I could just imagine me going through, or any of us going through airport security.
It's
Yeah.
well, here in America, it's not that bad. I went to the Dominican for my honeymoon.
Before I lost my leg totally, I had a boot on, and it was like they wanted to strip search me. So
When I went to the
I don't know
Dominican,
about here in America.
in 2017, I went to the Dominican, and all they had to do was stick a Q-tip in my shoe and a Q-tip down my prosthesis. And then I had to stand in the metal detector like everybody else does.
You all should tell that to the New York airports, because
That's not, I don't even think it's legal for them to ask
It
you.
was like literally strip search.
I don't think it's
But
legal for them to even ask you to take the leg off at an airport.
They can't. Now
They
in a
can't.
Dominican, they did,
Yeah, I heard
but not
that.
in America.
It wasn't so much my prosthetic leg. It was quite obvious. It was a medical device. It was quite obvious what it was. And yeah, they did. God bless New York.
There's a reason my brother left it.
And that, thankfully my daughter kidnapped me from New York after 5 failed operations and brought me to Pennsylvania. And I'm glad she did. I didn't know what she was doing at the time, but I'm alive. God bless my
Pennsylvania is where
daughter.
my heart's at.
What?
Pennsylvania is like, that's where my heart's at in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no,
I love
it just-
Pennsylvania.
It's just so, and people are nice.
Yes, they are.
It's I think actually it's probably because I drive very slow. But initially I didn't hear any horn beeping for months. In back Doylestown, Pennsylvania is about an hour.
Gingerbread man. Right. Catch me if you
An
can.
hour. I bad with directions. It's about an hour away from Philly. So, but they're not ADA compliant. God bless them. But when in terms of cuts into sidewalks, etc. But you go into the street, this is an example. You go into the street because you had to get to the next cut to go up and whatever. Now, so you're in the street, so all these cars are behind you, not one beep. They just wait,
Right.
and it was an incline, so it was a very slow wait. In New York, they would just run you over. Got a left.
Rado?
Yeah.
I think we're
Hey,
about to
Scott.
start.
Hi, Bill. Bill here.
Until later, fellas and ladies.
You said you got your prosthetic. Was that your first one? The one for that you got today?
Yeah, it was my first prosthetic leg. Yeah, it's my first one I got today.
Awesome. Okay, so really, you're going to be tempted to wear it, but pay attention to those times. I wore mine.
1 hour a day.
wore
I
mine,
don't want to rush it.
I think I wore mine just a bit too much. I ended up ripping open the scar, so now I have an invagination. So the scar is actually totally open and is causing all kinds of other problems. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, get used to it, ease into it. Don't rush it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The prosthetist just shakes his head and he's like, "Man, you're gonna have trouble with this."
Am I live, Bill?
Are we live, Bill?
All right.
Yeah, you're live.
Okay, guys.
All right, everybody, welcome back.
Yeah. Thanks for the short little break there. So we did things a little bit different this time than normal. So even though we got to know each other through the exercises, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves today. I'll start. My name's Nate Capa. I'm a certified prosthetist with Bremer Prosthetics.
And
How are
I'm Scott
ya?
Baronic. I'm a certified prosthetist with Bremer Prosthetics. Yeah, and let us know if you did the exercises, what you thought of them. We'd like your feedback on that. So,
Yep. So if we want to go ahead and get the microphone, we'll go around the room real quick here, then we'll go to online. And when you have the mic, if you want to, while you're introducing yourself, if you want to ask a question, great. If you want to just introduce yourself and come back around to it, that's fine too.
and
Pretty impromptu.
no matter how great you think your answer is, please don't drop it.
Okay, Brian, we're starting over there too. Sorry.
Hello, my name is Ben Geiger. Lost my leg about 7 years ago, Labor Day, car accident. It's been quite the exciting journey. Learned a lot of stuff about myself and people, and met a lot of good people along the way. Keep you going. Pay attention to what therapists say about how long you put your leg on for. That's for sure. I've had mine all blistered up and trying to wear it too long, and didn't want to go home quite yet. Thought I'll be fine, but then 2-week recovery to get back on it, and then slow recovery after that, trying to get back to that hour. But just listen to what they say, and it sure helped my life listening to all those people and everyone here. That's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Here you go. Oh, wait, we can skip you. You'll be last. You're eating a cookie.
I knew that's all you had to do to get out of it. I wouldn't have did that. I'm Dave Laddie. I've been at left below the knee amputee since 2017. And I've been here with Bremers ever since, and even before. So that's it. Here, I'll give it back to Sticky.
My name's Dwayne. I'm a right leg below the knee. And 2011, 12. That was one of the first ones when I met Scott at the recovery center that I wanted to walk just like him.
Yeah.
The first thing I said to him. I've been with him ever since. Been coming to all these, and you learn an awful lot here, and they're awful good to us.
Thank you. Your turn.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am a left below knee amputee. I've been a below knee for about 2 years now, and Abby was the first one I met, and she's the only one I'll see at all anymore. She's been awesome. She has taught me everything I know and to constantly push myself.
It's Chris.
Great. I think we can go ahead. I think we can go ahead and go to the online. And I don't know how everybody else's screen is, but I see Ben is at the top left of ours. Ben, so if you want to go ahead and start, Ben, we'll kind of work our way. We'll introduce you guys. Oh, I think you're on mute, Ben.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Well, I'm Ben. I've been an amputee since 2017. I believe I met Scott about 2019. I've been with him ever since. Sadly, well, because of life up in Michigan, I moved back to my home state in Indiana. So I'm now on the wall on these classes. I do miss you all there. I hope to continue to work with you with my leg. We'll see that when my insurance comes around. But I love this and I love you all there. Thank you for doing what you guys do.
All right, good to hear from you, Ben.
Next is Tim.
Hi, and thank you for everyone, and particularly our earlier conversation before this started, Ben. I highly appreciate it. Anyway, I'm above the right knee amputee. After multiple operations in New York, my daughter kidnapped me and brought me to Pennsylvania, who saved my life. And fortunately and unfortunately, there's two sides of it. I'm above the right knee amputee. My last operations was the end of April of 2021. I was thought I was doing great. And I was. And I fell and so forth and multiple times, 21 times in the first 24 months. But on the and obviously you add the months, it's way past that now. That last fall just rattled my brain, and I just I need to get over that. And I've been exercising. I have in-home exercises that I do, or my own exercises that previous PTs told me with bands and etc. And I go to the gym, and if I'm not in the gym, I'm at finally an outpatient PT place that is much better than last year. With Peter Pan straps, but I'm still beyond afraid. That's my story.
Thanks for joining us today. I think the next would be Steve.
Wait a minute. Oh, we want to show Steve the.
Oh,
Hi,
There's
Steve. Yeah, I gotta let you say, I saw a bear run across the screen.
that's what
He's coming to say hi. Well, I don't know
Okay,
what
yes,
camera.
here
Just
he
take
is.
him to the
Hi,
camera.
Bear. There's Bear. That's the Pomeranian. My son loves him. What's up, Bear? Yeah. Hey, Bear, I got my leg today. I just got my leg like an hour ago.
Awesome. So how'd that go, Steve?
It's doing good. I went up 6 stairs already without nothing. I like the prosthetic guy's like, I don't think you're gonna need physical therapy. He's like, you got a good like gait and everything. I walk perfectly fine, no crutches, no walker. I went up up and down 6 stairs.
Nice. Good job.
So I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy to be vertical on 2 feet than 1 foot. I don't got to always put all the weight on that 1 foot anymore.
Right. Very
But
good.
yeah, like,
and
so
I overheard you mentioning that they suggested a wearing schedule. You know, using it an hour a day.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's so that's a great. I mean, we think that's really good strategy for kind of building your endurance, getting your limb kind of used to being inside the prosthesis, all those things. So that's great.
Yeah, so I'm happy to like at least have it.
Doing
what?
Yeah. So we'll be real interested to keep tabs on how you're doing.
Oh yes, I'll keep you guys updated. Yes, and I love to keep. Yeah, I know you got another one coming up November 8th or something. I saw. I'll sign up for.
Perfect. We love it.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon then. Thank you.
You got it. So Bill, I didn't catch. I don't know the name of the next person. I didn't see.
Jeffrey.
So Jeffrey.
Hey, this is Jeff. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we sure can. Hi, Jeff.
Awesome. Yeah, left below the knee amputee, May 4th, 22. So just over a year. I had a crushed knee and lost my foot in a motorcycle accident. and broke the femur. So I had a bit of recovery to go through, and rods and medical devices and all kinds of stuff. A couple surgeries, but we're doing pretty well now. I went back to Boston at my year for the Bionic 5K, and I'm doing the San Francisco Bionic 5K in at the end of the month on the 29th. So
Very cool.
yeah. The prosthetist, everyone tells me if I wear pants, no one can tell. My gait is really good. My balance is good. Everything's good. But some of that fine tuning stuff, like going upstairs, they say that I'm maybe shifting my hip a bit, so I need to pull strength a little bit more. But the thing that you mentioned while you were working out was what happens when the unexpected happens, when you put your foot down. And on Sunday, I was at Costco shopping, and I actually put my foot down on the wheel, not on the ground. So kind of gave me that jolt of reality that said, you don't always have a stable foot. So what are you going to do? Ended up crashing into the cart and caught myself. But yeah, that's something to pay attention to is, have that strength ready to go, like you said.
I saw you were doing some of the exercises. What did you think?
Oh yeah, that's good. I had the physical therapy exercises from the therapist that was coming to the house, and then I was going to outpatient, and I got really frustrated with that. I finally just started going to the gym. So I do all the weight training and everything there. So that's great. I do a lot of cable weights and a lot of other things. I do enjoy squats, as long as you have a good balance and a good position, good posture, you can do some good squats. I enjoyed that.
Did you try rotating your foot out, or had you already been doing that when you were doing squats?
Yeah. Squats for me are actually pretty easy. I was been doing squats for years, so it came natural. The one thing they said, you should be able to balance on your foot, and I'm getting better at that. So that is part of that. But for me, the squat, the positions, everything is pretty natural. So I enjoy that.
Good. Great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, out here in California.
Okay. Awesome. Debbie is up next.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm a right below the knee, and it happened June of last year. And I chose to have it amputated after 7 surgeries that did not help to save my leg. I could have had an external fixator put on to try one last try, but I figured, again, I don't want to go through that pain and being not weight bearing again. So I chose amputation, and I really truly don't regret it. I drive with it. With no no hand controls or adapters or anything like that. I just straightforward drive with my leg. I'm not walking very far yet. I still need a walker, and I just basically keep it around the house. For the most part, I'm in a wheelchair. That's about it.
What are your long? Oh, sorry.
Pardon?
I was going to say, what are your long-term goals on the process? Like, anything you're looking to accomplish, or?
The next goal I got to do is get to walking. I haven't been to physical therapy because of other setbacks, but I really got to get back into physical therapy to build up more endurance. I do seated exercises at home, usually 3 times a week, as well as seated yoga. It helps, but I do have to get back into physical therapy. And I've been saying that for like the past month. And I just don't know why I haven't yet.
What happens? I mean, obviously things in life come up, right? But I mean, having the mentality that that it's something that you want to do, just keep that focus and it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're here, so you joined the thing for a reason. You obviously have the drive. Maybe some of the exercises, I know if you check on our website and stuff, they'll be posted. You know how to do them and things like that. Sometimes being able to get started doing things at home
Yeah.
might be a nice way to motivate you to
Right.
get, ready to go back to therapy. So,
Right. I figured I can do stuff like your chair exercises, like standing, and the heel thing and whatnot to build up that endurance and the strengthen my balance.
yep. All right. Well, keep us posted.
Thanks.
Hopefully next time we see you, you'll be back in PT.
Hopefully.
All
We'll
right.
see.
I don't know, I just posted a link to the exercise video.
Oh, Bill said he just posted a link to the exercise videos in the chat.
Did
too,
he?
So,
That's very nice of him.
And then we have Tracy next.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I'm a left above knee amputee since May of this year. And like Debbie, I've had many, many limb saving surgeries, the origins of which related to bone cancer when I was a teenager. And I'm in PT, and I was using the total knee, and yesterday I got my leg, the X3, although I don't get to bring it home quite yet.
okay.
Oh, very good. I know last time you were kind of waiting for authorization to find out what kind of knee component.
X3 is a good knee.
The X3 is probably the most advanced knee that's on the market. So
And I like to swim. Apparently you can swim in it. I don't feel I have to swim with a leg on, but I like to swim.
well, the idea is you can submerge it in water, right? I mean, would you use it for lap swimming? I don't know that we'd think that that's necessarily
Well,
realistic.
some people do.
So, and some
yeah.
people do, but like you were saying, I think most people that like to swim like to take their prosthesis off, but that knee is waterproof, and that's the big deal.
It's a nice feature.
Right.
But I was saying on the break, I think what I only was on it yesterday afternoon, so time will tell. But what I found difficult yesterday was letting it do its job. That it actually will bend for you, and the total knee was more work for sure. So that's an adjustment, letting the microprocessor do its thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Transferring your weight over to that prosthetic side and letting it and trusting it. I mean, that's the big thing with those.
Right. And then the alignment is very critical also in terms of kind of the ease of initiating that the knee into swing phase instead of, feeling like you're fighting it all the time.
Right.
But great.
Yeah.
How about how about the socket fit? How did things fit
So
when you?
I'm still in my original socket. I haven't had a lot of volume loss, but I imagine now that I'm going to be walking more. I don't know if I'm going to be doing more therapy, but I'll get hopefully the leg home soon. And my processes is getting ready to make another socket. But I'm still in the original big socket.
Oh, so we think highly of the components like an X3. We think very highly of that knee component, but as prosthetists, we're always going to say, the socket is your control point, right?
Yep.
And so, we try to de-emphasize sometimes components, and even though that's a good one, we like to say that the socket fit's going to be more of a determinant of your success than necessarily the knee or foot that you use.
It's
But
fitting really well. I haven't even started with socks. I think I'm going to put a sock in tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Good.
And you had mentioned PT. I just, going from one knee to the other, I think there's some benefits for physical therapy if you get authorized from that too, just to kind of get some training on the knee would be very beneficial. So.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of PT in front of me still.
Right. Absolutely.
As like people who've had limb saving surgery, like Debbie and many others, we have a lot of bad walking habits that have to be changed. I didn't walk properly when I had limb saving surgery because of all the metal components and lack of strength. So a lot of habits have to be corrected from decades of improper walking.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming back. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing how you progress on the new knee. So
thank you.
So I guess with that being said, thanks for the introductions, everybody. We didn't really facilitate a lot of conversation, you know, or have like pre-planned questions. So who has questions for us? Who has, I mean, you guys were doing a pretty good job of being in conversation, you know, while we were in the break. So we'd like to kind of get that going again. Don't feel like we can't just have the same level of conversation. Now, does anybody have any questions to start things off? Go ahead.
Well, did we got a microphone for Dave? Yeah, I was gonna say, let's get the microphone on the floor so
they can hear, right?
I just, well, you know, when you go online, you look up different information about, you know, having a prosthetic leg and all that. I notice there's a lot of information and people doing their own adjustments. I guess I'd like to know what
do you mean
you guys
information?
really
Like
feel about.
people recommending that?
Yeah, they're showing a lot of people actually doing their own adjustments. Well, you know, I wear this shoe, so you know, you make it.
Who's
so well, we got
Is
people
this like
here.
on Facebook or on, you know, a social media or thing?
It's social media.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, YouTube and all that.
So they're not prosthetists or medical professionals.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we certainly don't advise anyone makes adjustments to their own
A couple of these
prosthesis.
people are in your field.
Yeah, well,
showing this stuff.
are they talking about?
So that's
torque
why I wanted to
settings?
sort of.
Yeah,
This is one of the things on the online thing I was
right,
gonna.
but
bring
there's
up.
different torque settings for different screws, things, and if your leg and foot falls off and you can have a failure, I mean, in our field, I don't know where we're told to recommend that people don't do their own adjustments and to come see us. That's why we're here. Now am I going to say that I don't have patients that I know haven't done their own adjustments?
You mean, are you going to lie?
Well, but I mean, they have, but we still say in the same, they're going to do what they're going to do, but we tell them not to. But the issue is, like, I had somebody in the other, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and yeah, he like over torqued the wrench and the thing was stripped, and he's playing with the socket all the time, and next thing it was broken. So there's more to it than just alignment, which is very crucial in and of itself, and it's easy to get. It's harder than you think, and when it's wrong, it's hard to get it right.
So I have a question. You're a certified prosthetist, so you've been trained in all this stuff. You do this for a living. How often do you make adjustments to your own prosthesis?
I mean,
aside from like sock ply fits or maybe small.
I mean, unless I have no choice, I come to see you,
right?
Or I see somebody in my office because, you know, they're looking at my gait. I mean, here's the thing too. If you know, and I get that some people feel, okay, I'm really good walking on the leg, but and Nate knows this about myself because he does my fittings. If you align me a certain way, after a certain amount of steps, I'm just going to adapt to it because I can overpower things and I got a lot of strength. That doesn't mean it's a good alignment for me to have. So there's some biomechanical things here. So I knew what point you were trying to make. I want other people to look at the floor reaction, things that you can't see when you're doing your own adjustments. So
plus kind of the angle that you're looking, right? So I mean, you know, you're tuned into doing this a certain way. Now all of a sudden you look at it in from a different direction. Those screws don't seem to make as much sense looking down at them as they do looking across at them and knowing which way things are going to move. I've had lots of people say that they, you know, lots of people that I've worked with, I call them tinkerers that like to, you know, tinker with their stuff. And they get lost in it because when they're looking down, they're seeing it backwards and they're thinking, oh, if I do this, it's going to make this change. And it's actually, you know, usually the opposite.
Way.
It's usually kind of opposite of what they think is intuitive. So no, it's not something we recommend. If you do it, please be honest with your prosthetist.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to kick you out of the office. We're going to help you. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, the people that I have that are just dead set, they're going to do this. I'm going to show them what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. I'm going to start to maybe have them, no, don't start turning screws. Don't do those things because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. Here are the things that you can do to safely manage your prosthesis until you can get back in. So, you know, if those are things that you feel like you have to do on your own, talk to your prosthetist because they can give you suggestions of things that you can do that aren't going to put your safety in jeopardy.
And you had mentioned, and this is the thing, it sounds like a lot of it was about switching shoes. Is that correct?
Actually, that was the main thing. The one guy was doing it.
So But I would like to hear a prosthetist say, and it's a lot more work on us, but what do we tell people?
Bring your shoes to
Bring
the
your
office.
shoes into the office. We're gonna put heel wedges in them and adjust them so that when you go from shoe to shoe, that's the solution. You don't have to turn the wrench to get that right.
Now, I remember when I was like early in my career, I made the mistake of telling somebody, just bring all your shoes in. I don't make that mistake anymore because they had a box full of shoes. Now I say, bring your 3 favorite shoes. And then the next time, bring the next 3
You and
pairs.
Moses bring a lot of shoes.
I mean, I didn't tell them to bring that many shoes. No, I tell people bring 2 or 3 pairs per appointment, and that will kind of work through
Space it out over time. Well, it's a lot more work for the prosthetist.
It's a lot more work, but I made that mistake of saying, bring all your shoes in. And when I looked at, I mean, I'm talking a refrigerator box full of shoes. I said, we're not going to get through this in one appointment.
But no, then we can evaluate how it sits in the shoe. There's a certain way it's supposed to be, and then we get it sitting flat, and then you can go from shoe to shoe, and you don't need to turn around.
And it's great to know that, you know, the process of how we align it for the heel height is fantastic. There's not much, I mean, besides torquing those screws down, there's not that much that can go wrong from that. But are you looking at the fact, does this shoe have a big, like a big instep in it that's pitching the prosthesis out to the side? Is it changing other angles? Is it doing other things? You know, you're kind of looking at one dimension instead of the whole thing, which is what we would look at is all of it. So we don't like that. Also, if changing lots and lots of shoes and having it be adjustable is something that's super important to you. There are prosthetic feet that have adjustable heel heights where you can push a button on that foot and then you can actually make that foot change the angle and then it locks back in without having to change the screws and actually alter the alignment of your prosthesis.
Because we've had patients where they have different shoes, they're insistent on doing their own adjusting or whatever, and then they don't get that alignment right. And this is true. They get pressure sores then on the front of their legs. I mean, they develop sores on the residual limb because the alignment of the prosthetic limb changes the forces that you feel in the prosthetic socket.
Right.
And if you're taking, you can get a sore on your legs. So,
and I mean, it's down to the point where there are microprocessor ankles that will self-select. You push and hold the button and it reads the angle and it makes itself into the right alignment based on whatever shoe you put on. So there are lots and lots of options that don't involve a patient turning screws on their own prosthesis.
And those feet may not be for everybody, but again, we can also adjust it manually.
It's an option.
Because I was going to get into that. There's just a lot of other ways to go about that other than just, if they're bringing it up for that reason, I'd like to hear that they were given a lot more information than just doing their own adjustments.
Most people you see usually wear tennis shoes.
Some people, they like dress shoes and they're going to,
Go out, certain place, but other than that, I always wear tennis shoes.
do they have a hard leather sole or are they like a softer rubber bottom?
Rubber shoe, hard sole.
Is that hard sole?
Know,
kind of throws you forward a little bit.
And,
Yeah.
certain things, gotta wear them, but normally other than that, I you look around, everybody uses wear tennis shoes.
I'll be honest with you. I don't wear a prosthesis. I wear, even if I have a suit on, I wear these shoes because I take care of my feet first and foremost, and I don't really care what other people think. And I mean, it's just the way that I've kind of adapted to things. And that doesn't mean other people can't wear dress shoes if they want to, but people think about it too much. Sometimes I think about the attention it draws. We're taking care of ourselves, right? I think that's a lot more important than having a shiny pair of shoes in this day and age. We're not in the day and age where, that the shoes are quite as important as they were at one point. And I also wear dress shoes sometimes.
And I like to wear dress shoes sometimes.
And I'm not saying I never do, but there's just lots of options and you just want to consider.
If I have a new user, I mean, here's the thing, tennis shoes are lighter. They got a thick rubber sole, so they're helping to absorb impact. There's a lot of benefits to you. So we'll definitely recommend, to somebody, Dwayne, you've been wearing a prosthesis for a while now, and that when you go to that dress shoe, and it might throw your pitch a little bit or whatever, but it's like, I'm just going to deal with that for a few.
Most everybody you see wears tennis shoes.
Right.
Yeah. Or they wear them most of the time and do like what you're doing. I've got dress slacks on, or I'm going out on Sunday or whatever. and they put on their dress shoes for a few hours.
Right.
But like I said, it's different for a seasoned user because you can kind of overcompensate
Right.
for that a lot more than somebody who might be just starting to learn to walk on the prosthesis.
And in here in Michigan, we see a lot of people wear boots. Boots become very common, especially
Well,
in a
boots are
month.
heavy.
Especially in a month, but
Yeah.
the boots are heavy.
That's the thing is with the boots is the weight.
But people still, I mean, compare, yeah, but we see lots and lots of those. And boots a lot of times have that high heel, you know, a little higher heel than the tennis shoe. So those have to be accommodated for also, kind of like the dress shoe.
Yeah, we got to accommodate for that because the heel height on that is big. But this is something I do always mention though. If somebody's got like a work boot or something, they have difficulty getting in there. Sometimes you can go to a shoe cobbler, get a zipper added to that.
Yeah.
You know, there are ways to get into boots just in case anyone's listening. I know Jeff drove a motorcycle, so he probably likes to wear boots. If
Right.
he's, and women's fashions in general, as far as shoes go, are just a lot more diverse than men's.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
So we are
Absolutely.
limited with the heel. What is it, 2 3/4 inches?
Right.
I
right.
think with some of the
Yes.
adjustable stuff.
And a lot of times women's are pretty limited in what shoes they can wear by the shape of what women's shoes, what some shoe fashion designer thinks a woman's foot should be shaped like, which no one's foot is shaped like. And the fact that a prosthetic foot doesn't conform to those shoes. So that becomes a fairly big issue for a lot of women, that it does kind of just eliminate a lot of those shoe options anyway. You're just trying to get the foot into those shoes. What other questions do we have?
No more motorcycle riding for
Anybody
me.
else online have any tips or suggestions or questions about shoes or anything else?
I'm good.
All I know is I just took my leg off in that liner. It feels like my leg was in the Bahamas or something.
There we go.
God bless
That's even
sweating.
why though the wearing schedule is so important, because your limb isn't conditioned to that environment yet. And I'm assuming, are you wearing it with a gel liner?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, the gel. Like, yeah, I have that. Like,
Yeah. So that's a closed cell environment. That's not going to breathe. Now, the thing is, the more you wear it, your limb will condition to that more and you won't sweat as much. But you want to kind of ease your way into that some so you don't get blisters, which could cause skin breakdown, which, like we talked about earlier, can easily be 2 weeks of not wearing the prosthetic limb. I would say, imagine like if you didn't wear shoes and socks for a year, but then you started wearing shoes and socks again, your feet would sweat profusely. So the nice thing is the pores in your skin, they can condition themselves and adapt. We just got to give that a little bit of time. The other nice thing about, say, if you're wearing it an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon, you're taking it off in between, you're able to inspect your residual limb. But yeah, that's like when you take, it's warm in there, right? And when you go 2 hours, it's going to be even warmer. So, but you will adapt to it quicker than you think you might.
they're gonna have
And
to
the
come
other
out
good
with
thing is
air
it's-
conditioned ones with air conditioning built in them.
Right.
Well, lucky for you, winter's coming and it's not summer.
No, that's true. Yeah, winter's coming. It's colder.
Yeah,
Right.
because summer's a whole nother thing.
Right.
Okay, you guys are both prosthetists. I have a quick question. I came up with this thing. Do you guys ever hear of a glow in the dark prosthetics? Have you ever tried to create one? I want a leg that glows in the dark.
So, I mean, there are lots of glow-in-the-dark paints that could definitely be incorporated into a prosthesis, or, you know, any kind of fabric that glows in the dark could also be laminated into the socket. So that's
Do
something
you know
that's
those flakes that Casey puts in there?
Yeah.
He has glow in the dark ones.
Yeah.
actually.
So yes, the answer is yes. That's very doable.
My
Yeah.
answer to that is these are custom made, and that's what we like about custom made stuff.
Right.
If you want something, we'll figure out a way to build it.
Right.
So-
Oh, wow.
If I may, Stephen, you can go to a bike shop and get glow-in-the-dark decals for kids' bikes. Wrap it around, you're good.
There you go. It's like decorating. Yeah, it's like almost like Christmas. Put some Christmas lights around and start decorating your socket.
There you go.
There you go. I'm a very sarcastic person. And I've increased my sarcasm in the past couple of years. But I have many funny things.
That's a
So do we have any other questions or anything else that, Steve, when do you start physical therapy?
Okay, this is the hardest part. This is crazy. I just talked to my prosthetist. Where I live in Monmouth County, like I was telling some of these people, like Debbie's heard me, Tracy, it's hard. Like where I live in my county, nobody wants to take amputees or work with me. I've called 10 different places and like 5 different companies, and none of them say they work with amputees.
Monmouth County, New Jersey?
Yeah, Monmouth County, New Jersey. Yeah, I'm on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, well,
do your prostitutes have any suggestions about people that they work with?
Well, that's the problem. They gave me a list of these companies that they use, but their office is near me. But they had like the companies that they use are all up north. They're like almost 2 hours away, or like 50 or 60 miles away.
Right. Right.
But
So
at
that's
least
why
they're
maybe
honest.
considering not doing physical therapy.
I mean, I was thinking of that. I know it's not good, and I know you should do it, and I know I'm new to it, but I know I feel like I don't want to do it, but then it's like you should do it.
Right. Right.
I mean,
you
it's
gotta look at it like
hard.
this.
And then, like, I see where you guys are right now. I mean, I seem like all you guys are home except for your guys. Like, where we live, it's COVID's coming back, so they want us to wear masks and everything. I'm like, why do I don't want to wear a mask doing all this exercise. I barely can breathe. Like, I mean, that's a lot of workout wearing a mask.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, where we live, COVID is supposed to be coming back, or they're starting that thing. If you go to the hospital, you have to have mask on. It's mandatory and everything. And I'm like, do I want to do therapy with a mask on?
Right. Well, that's a hard question. Yeah. And that's going to just vary so differently from state to state and area to area, right? That's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, the idea is that
I'm sorry. I gotta jump in. Do you want to deal with someone who does not, or a hospital doctor or whatever, who does not follow the science? Masks do not work. Science. I know the black helicopters will be over my apartment building soon, but it is.
I mean, you're talking to people from Michigan here. I mean, we're not like, you know, we're not going to sit here and strongly advocate for anything but people to make their own decisions for themselves.
We don't have sides. We believe in freedom of decision making.
Yeah,
Let's stay on topic.
That's kind of ingrained in the way we live, is to let people make their own decisions and do things the way they see best. So anytime we talk about mandates and things like that, you're not going to be getting a whole lot of support in this room about making people do things that that aren't for their own personal reasons. So that's why I said, you know, if you have to use a mask, that's a tough one. That's a tough question. That's something you have to decide for yourself, if the pros outweigh the cons and all those things.
I mean,
because
I didn't even realize that was a thing. I wouldn't have even known that was a thing.
My middle names are Christopher Scott, just for shits and giggles. But when I lost my leg, it was the air quote COVID panic. They assigned a robot nurse to me, which led to a pinky toe to above the right knee. Make a long story short. So the COVID panic is related to this conversation, because most of it was, and I promised God not to curse, but I got it on this one, bullshit. And I'll shut up from here.
Again, we're not going to pose any arguments to that whatsoever. But we just.
And my apologies, but I needed to say that.
And I mean, listen. This is a thing that impacted so many people on so many different levels, and I'm very sorry to hear how it had a consequence for you. That's I mean, very, that means a lot to us, and we're sorry to hear that there was so much blowback and unintended consequence from all of these things. So yeah, we certainly aren't people that are here to to say you should be doing things that aren't your own personal choice to do. Yeah.
But
Even
yeah,
if
see
it's
where I
adjusting
live,
your
the
own leg.
rehab. They were saying the rehabs here were saying that the problem was that they don't take amputees where I live is because they don't have the proper equipment that they need for amputee training or physical therapy. They don't like have parallel bars or nothing. But I'm like, if you're a rehab for physical therapy, wouldn't you have parallel bars?
Not all of them do.
Steve,
Not all of them do.
my PT, she's pretty new to above knee amputees, she's more experienced with below knee. So my prosthesis comes to many of my PT appointments. And that's been a good team effort. And yes, we wear masks because that's public health rule here in Canada for many of these places. I was at a hospital visiting a friend today, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, think about that. If there's a way to get like the expertise to come and attend some of your PT sessions.
That's a great point. And that's something that we do also regularly is attend physical therapy with people, kind of make sure that their process understands. Even a physical therapist that works with a lot of above the knee amputees may not understand your specific knee component or the way your socket fits, or just certain aspects that we would understand that we can explain to them so that you're engaged in all these things safely, in the right way.
I do have some friends that are from Long Island, New York, who work in prosthetics, and I don't know how far it's probably about an hour from the Jersey Shore, but I'll ask them if they know anybody, if somebody around your area, see if they have some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
what's your city or county?
I live in Monmouth County. I live in Keensburg. It's like right up the Jersey Shore. So I called like companies like they were called Strive, Ivy, ProCare, Jag One. These are supposed to be big name companies that are like rehabs. And I called all of them and they don't like in Monmouth County, they don't take it. But it's weird. If you call up, say you go up north, maybe 2 hours away, they take their rehabs take amputees, but not in Monmouth County.
Is your prosthetist nearby, Steve? Could he or she?
Well, luckily, yeah. My prosthetist luckily in the town over from me, and he lives around.
Down? Okay.
Yeah, luckily my prosthetist is in Red Bank, and it's like 20 minutes from there. But the problem is their main office is all the way up in Rochelle Park, New Jersey. So that's really far from me. But all them like rehabs up there, they do take amputees, but the ones down here don't take the amputees.
Steve, I don't know what to say other than I wasted a whole year with a group of air quotes PTs that at the end of the sessions said we really don't know too much about amputees. So the fact that they said that up front with you, that's a positive thing. It's your decision. Don't go north, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As I live north, don't go north, go south.
All right.
What about having the processes zoom in, like to zoom in?
I mean, check it out south. There's what is it, Monmouth University? Did you check that out?
You mean Monmouth Medical or my in-law brand?
Monmouth Medical University.
I had my surgery done there. That's where I had my amputation. I mean, I could reach out to them. I do, like I said, my prosthetist said he would come to physical therapy if we could find one local. Like, I mean, the hospitals here where I live, they said they would take me, but they don't really have amputees, so they never worked with amputees. So I'm like, okay, what is that going to lead to?
Honesty is a good thing. But it is. Ask if that's where your vascular surgeon was, I'm assuming. Ask him.
Yes.
For S and giggles.
I've never heard of a hospital system that wouldn't. But it's different everywhere. I know Michigan.
I think Tim's point that honesty is the transparency. That's refreshing. Where we should focus on that part of it. I think we're all kind of taken aback by the fact that there's this limited access where you are.
I like the recommendation of getting the process.
Getting the process to go. And I think Tim's recommendation of asking your surgeon, maybe the hospital has some resources for you. Ask around. right?
And feel free to share like our website where we have exercises and
Right.
things like, if you have a therapist, the real thing is because there's amputees are less than 1% of the population. You're not going to see as many of us walking around as you are rotator cuffs and that type of stuff. So you got to get into if you get into a hospital system, because where we refer, we'll have one person says, hey, you know what? They did a couple of things with some amputees or worked with us at our clinics. And then they say, I want to get all the amputees here. Usually everyone's, because at least they're telling you they're uncomfortable. And if they're being transparent, and you've got the right therapist who's willing to try to learn along the way, you may be able to help someone else who's in your shoes later. There's going to be someone else a year from now, and maybe you break that trend. In the hospital is a good place. I like the fact that they're being honest with you, and I think if they say they'll take you anyway, try it with the prosthetist and give them resources and see if that helps, because someone else is going to come after you that's going to be in the same situation.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would love to help people. Yeah, like break that trend for the next person behind me. Don't have to have their struggles of, okay, well, I can't find a physical therapist. I can't find something like, hey, let's train you. Let's work together, and I'll be your first. Maybe then you can do other people eventually.
When Nate and I do these clinics, one of the things that we did was there was always open for therapists, because what did we always say? It's like that. When physical therapists go to school, they get 2 days on orthotics and prosthetics. That's it. So they don't really have any hands-on with patients. And it's such a big change when you get a hands-on with a patient and you expand your comfort zone a little bit. So, and all of us that attend these clinics, and you guys are attending regularly now, what's the one thing we all have in common? We're all trying to pass along information and change things for the next group of people. So I'd say if they say they're willing to do it and the prosthetist is willing to, you really don't have anything to lose. It can't be worse than no therapy.
Yeah, that's like you said. You got nothing to lose. You got only something to gain. Hopefully you help other people and you learn something in the time you're doing it.
I like the fact that they're being transparent with you. I think that says a lot about
honesty.
We could have you in here, have you walk around with a walker and just bill, and you not get anything out of it. It sounds like they'd be willing to try to learn, and it could be a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, that's what, like you said, I like their honesty. Like they didn't say, oh, well, we'll come and take it, and then they don't know anything about it. And then they just, okay, well, we did your therapy and did nothing for me, really. At least they're honest. Like
we see that more often than not. Yes, honestly. So I think you're still, I get where it feels disheartening, but it might not be as bad, as dire of a situation as it feels like.
Yeah. So hopefully next month when we see you, I'll at least have started therapy and moving forward.
Well, if nothing else, Steve, try to save your hour for that day so that we can do some exercises.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, there goes Bear. Bear's like, hey, what's up, Bear?
And if your therapist
go south.
There you go. Go south.
Right.
Gonna say that we have all of our amputee exercises online, like
Right.
even like things people could do in the hospital bed, and he could always recommend that his medical team, whichever one he ends up going with for therapy, can check out all of our stuff online.
Oh, absolutely.
And they can hop on Step Up
Yeah,
and
absolutely. They can. I mean, if a
Your
therapist wanted
could
to come
attend
to
this
the class and
Yep.
kind of see a bit about how we address some of these things, that'd be great.
yeah, because Tracy mentioned them, she said, could they do Zoom? And it's like, that just reminded me of all of the online resources that exist if they want to learn more. And they could always have a call with you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I guess that I think our time is pretty much coming to an end. Does anybody else have any kind of parting shots or other questions? If not, we'll want to take a second to say thank you to everybody for coming today. And we really look forward to seeing people next month. Yeah. We look forward to seeing you guys next month. And we'll be probably following the same format where we'll be opening up with some exercises and then spending the last half the time talking.
Well, in the event too, that maybe the PT would be joining us, that would be good because they'd see some.
Chris and Scott, you have a little, cat that was going through you here.
No, that's a dog. It's Bear.
I know, it's a Tim joke.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's not much of a dog there, but he's certainly demands attention.
Again, my first name is Timothy. And the rest of my name is Scott Christopher. Kind of funny.
Right.
His name's Bear Baronic.
Very good. Well, thank you, everybody. See you
Great to
next
see you all
time.
again.
You're
Thanks.
welcome, and thank you.
Here.
It helped. It helped. I hopefully get over my fear.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.